So today is Monday, October 22nd, and we're continuing right along in Eureka Math by doing Module 2, Lesson 10. And today's learning goal says, I can use what I know about unit form and also area models to help me multiply a decimal by a whole number, okay? Let's review how we can rename decimals using unit form, okay? Here's a decimal, 3.25. How can I say 3.25 using word form? Not unit form, word form. That's the one I'm going to remind you where the decimal point we think of as and. Okay, how can I say 3.25 using word form? Maddie?
3 and 2500.
3 and 2500ths. Very nice. Now, how can I say it using unit form? Unit form is where I kind of ignore this. Okay. What number do you guys see there if there was no decimal point?
325.
325. But then what is that unit in? Hundredths. Very good. Okay. What about this number? 0.987. How would I say that using word form? Word form. Rush?
900, 0 and 987 thousands.
0 and 987 thousandths. We don't really have to say that's 0. Okay. How do I write it using unit form then? I ignore the decimal point. If I ignore the decimal point, what number do I see there, everyone?
987.
Okay. And I have to think my smallest unit is in what place there?
Thousands.
Thousandths. Good. So in unit form, we could call this 987 thousandths. Okay, what about this one? How do we say this in unit form? We're going to skip right to unit form. If I don't look at the decimal point, what number do I see? 8,723. And then the 3 is in what unit, Arnav?
10.
Tenths. Okay, so Arnav, try this one then. How do I say 14.297 in unit form? How do you know it's thousandths? Very good. Give me a thumbs up if you feel confident that you can write a number in unit form. Very good, because we're going to use this skill today. It tells us to estimate the product, so we should do that step first. 43 is pretty close to what number? 40. And 2.4 is pretty close to what number? 2. Okay. When we estimate, we always want whole numbers. What's 40 times 2, everyone?
80.
So our product should be pretty close to 80. If it's not close to 80, we know something's not quite right. Okay? So keep your estimate in mind, off to the side somewhere. And now let's solve using an area model. Now, when we used an area model, did we know how to use decimals? No, we didn't. So let's first rename this, because one way to get rid of this decimal point is to rename it using unit form, right? So 43, that's already a whole number. But instead of 2.4, we could call it 24, what's? Tenths. So now you'll see there's no decimal point. Do you agree? Okay, so now let's draw our area model. We have 43 times 24. So, of course, I would split the 43 into 40 and a 3. And then the 24 would be 20 and what?
4.
Okay, but there's a very important piece of the puzzle that we need to write at the end of our area model. What is that? Charlotte? Exactly. Are we really multiplying 20 or is it really 20 tenths? Are we really doing 4 or is it 4 tenths? So we need to write that. 20 tenths and 4 tenths. Now we can do the area model. Okay, this first area here is 40 times 20 tenths. What's 4 times 2?
8.
Okay, how many factors of 10 do we have?
2.
And what's our unit?
Tenths.
So we have to write 800 tenths. What happens if I don't write the word tenths? Will my answer be correct?
No.
What will I think that product is? 800. But what's 800 tenths? It's really 80. So inside I want you to write the standard form, okay, which is 80.0 if you want. Okay, now let's do this bottom box here. This is 3 times what?
20 tenths.
Oh, good. Oops, not 30. 3 times 20 tenths. What's 3 times 20?
60.
60. But my units is?
10
So how could I rewrite it so that it's in standard form? Well, I can write the number 60, and then I need the 0, the last digit, to be in the what's place?
Tenths.
So it would have to be 6.0. So what's the partial product on this side? I have 80 plus 6, which is? Good. Okay. Now let's do this other side. Let me make it a little bit bigger so I have some more space. Okay. How do I find the area of this section here? It's 40 times what?
4 tenths.
What's 40 times 4? What's 40 times 4?
160.
And what's my unit? Tenths. How can I write 160 tenths in standard form? Luke? 16.0, right? Very good. Okay, what about the area of this part? I have 3 times 4 what? Tenths. Okay, so then what's 3 times 4? 12. But my unit is? How do I write 12 tenths using standard form? Well, I can write the number 12, and I need the 2 to be in the what's place? So I put the decimal point there. So how do I find the partial product of this red side? I have to add 16 plus 1.2. We'll do 16 plus 1.2, which is 17.2. How can I find the total product? I have to add my two partial products, 86 plus 17.2. So I can see that my final answer is 103 and 2 tenths. Is that pretty close to my estimate of 80? Yeah, it's not too far away. Now let's use the standard algorithm and see if our partial products match up. So we have 43 times 24 what's? Tenths. Don't forget to write the units. I'm going to tell you this so many times, you're going to say, Miss O, we get it, we need to write the units. But guess what? I bet you in this class, one person's going to say, oh, I don't need to write the units. I can remember it in my head. And that person will mess up. So what do you need to do to not mess up? Write the units. Okay, let's do the standard algorithm. What's 4 times 3? 12. What's 4 times 4? Plus 1. Okay. Now I'm in the tens, so let me add a place value 0, placeholder 0. What's 2 times 3? What's 2 times 4? Okay, look, there's my two partial products. What's 2 plus 0? 7 plus 6? Okay. 1 plus 1 plus 8? Okay, let's see if our partial products line up. I can see my first partial product is 172. Did we have a 172 somewhere? Did we? No, because what's our units? We're supposed to have a 172 tenths, and there it is. Do you guys see it? Same thing. We're supposed to have a 860, but what's our units? Tenths. And is 86 the same thing as 860 tenths? Very good. And our final answer was 1,032, but our units needs to be tenths. When I write 1,032 tenths in standard form, I get 103.2, and it lines up. Okay, so again, this is the same work that we were doing before, but now we're adding in decimal units.
How many miles do we have run in 6 weeks?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how many miles altogether that Rachel will run in 6 weeks. What important information do we need in order to figure that out, Prisha?
Rachel runs 3.2 miles each weekend.
Each what?
Weekday.
So every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those are the weekdays, she's running 3.2 miles each day. Good for her. What else is she doing?
And 1.5 miles each weekend.
Each day of the weekend, she's running 1.5 miles. So that means on Saturday and Sunday, she's running 1.5 miles each day. How much is she running altogether on the weekend? If on Saturday and Sunday, she's running 1.5 miles and then 1.5 miles again on Sunday. How many miles altogether?
3.
So we know on the weekend, she's doing 1.5 times 2, which we know in our head is 3 miles. Do you agree? Okay, on the weekdays, how many weekdays are there? Okay, so if she's doing 3.2 miles, but she's doing it 5 times a week. Okay, so how can we rename 3.2 so that there are no decimal points? Well, we could say it's 32 what's? Okay, let's use the standard algorithm to multiply 32 tenths times 5. What's 5 times 2? 10. What's 5 times 3? Plus 1. But our units is, so it's 160 tenths. How do I write 160 tenths in standard form? Jayon? 16. So on the weekdays, she's running 16 miles. And on the weekend, she's running 3 miles. So how many miles is she running throughout one entire week? We can do 16 plus 3, which is 19 miles. Is that my final answer? I think so, because I figured out how much she's running on the weekdays and how much she's running on the weekends. Whenever I think I'm done, I'm going to go back and read what the question's asking again to make sure I actually answered the question that was asked. It says, how many miles will she have run in, 6 weeks? Did I actually answer the question that was asked? No. If I know she's running 19 miles altogether in 1 week, how can I find out what she's running in 6 weeks? I just do 19 times 6. Very good. 6 times 9 is? 6 times 1 is? Plus 5. So my final answer, in 6 weeks, good for Rachel, that's a lot of miles, she will run 114 miles.